In this week's hardware radar, everybody's favorite wallet destroyer Noctua released nothing. But something actually did change, because somewhere between January 27th and February 8th, Noctua updated their roadmap, now featuring an offset mounting for the LGA 1851 socket in combination with their new NHD15 G2 cooler, which is interesting. I didn't know there was any issue there, but I guess we will have to wait until Q2 2025 to find out more, as if they would release that thing before like 2027. And now where we are already in that part of the world, everybody's least favorite wallet destroyer EK has joined the RTX 5000 water cooling world. They just released the new EK Quantum Vector 3 Waterblock for RTX 5090s and 5080 GPUs. For now, the list of supported GPUs isn't particularly long, but according to themselves, more compatible models should be announced soon. In the news article, EK doesn't really give out any actual info, the usual amount of PR talk filled with buzzwords without any comparable numbers or improvements. Except for the price, it's 290 euros. It's just questionable who gets a part of that 219 euros. And if your GPU isn't compatible, maybe Alphacool has you covered, because they just announced the new Core RTX 5080 and 5070 Ti Gaming Pro cooler, and Gaming Pro as in Palette Gaming Pro series of GPUs. The configurator has already been updated, and so far the Palette Gaming Pros are the only 5070 Ti's which have a compatible water block, which, wow, considering when this card came out, is like shockingly quick. Speaking of which, the RTX 5070 Ti is out, and I can buy one for a respectable price tag of 1400 bucks. Yeah, or I won't. Thermaltake tries to find out how many synonyms for the word big they can fit into a single product name. They just unveiled the new Massive Extreme. Massive Extreme. A gaming laptop stand/cooler with stats where I'm not sure if it's real or a joke. That thing got the usual amount of ARGB mandated by European law and a little display button combo for minimal control and temperature readout. They say there is a 120mm cross-flow fan, though to me this looks much more like a blower than a cross-flow fan. But anyway, they say 48.5 CFM, which is really not that much, but 29.5mm of H2O static pressure. Yeah, that is a lot. And so is the 55 dBA noise. And knowing how the usual company, or basically every manufacturer, likes to measure the noise of their product like from another building, I fear for whoever runs that thing at full blast. And now we will come to a product which initially I thought was really dumb, but damn, it grows on me, and the more I think of it, the more sense it makes. The Asus ZenScreen Duo OLED MQ149CD is a dual 14-inch OLED portable monitor. Each screen has a 16:10 aspect ratio, 1920 by 1200 pixel resolution, and the whole thing weighs about a kilogram while running on a single USB connection, it can run on a single USB connection. One use case shown by Asus in their press release is part of a semi-mobile working setup with both screens vertically aligned and then hanging on a desk-mounted stand for monitors, kind of like a second screen, but two of them. And the other setup shows how useful those hinges are. These are able to bend in 360. Oh, 360. They say 360, but I mean, at some point the monitors will just touch, so it's not really 360. But what you could do is use mirror mode and game on, for example, a Switch, where each player would have his own screen. And how cool, seriously, that's like really cool. There's also a kickstand allowing you to make the whole thing just stand on your table, like next to your laptop or whatever. And the more I think about it, the more sense it makes. And we are now getting to a point where I want the damn thing. There is nothing officially said about pricing, but I found a listing on ProShop, the German retailer that did a fantastic job with the 5090 release. And there it's listed for 660 bucks, which makes me want it less, but not zero. I still want it. Do you remember all the images with next-gen NVIDIA GPUs requiring like an actual external 240 volts power plug? Well, it's happening. Asus just released the 2025 ROG XG Mobile eGPU featuring an actual power plug. They say it's the first eGPU featuring a Thunderbolt 5 connection, which might be true, but what is not entirely true is that this thing is having a RTX 5090, because actually it's just the boiled down laptop version of it with a max 150 watts power draw. So it's less exciting, but might still be useful for the laptop gaming people. EZDIY-Fab, nobody, and I mean nobody, will ever convince me that the name of that company wasn't like a hold my beer type of story. EZDIY-Fab is joining the battle for 12 volts high power cables lighting on fire. Their solution, a 180 degrees adapter inside an aluminium housing and stuffed with thermal pads. If this actually helps or prevents, like, let's say, the less severe problematic cases to like light on fire, remains to be seen. But for 22 bucks, it might be worth a try. Western Digital revealed their roadmap for the next few years. Over the next few years, they want to make their hard drives with heat-assisted magnetic recording tech, with the first drive being introduced somewhere in 2026. And according to them, they should be able to build a single drive with up to 44 terabytes in size, which makes me very excited. Vcolor announced a new Xfinity DDR5 Ram Kit with 2 sticks that looks like it's a 4-sticks kit. Vcolor did this in the past. It's basically a kit with 2 actual RAM sticks and 2 empty ones, where they are just like spot fillers for the RGB. Pretty cool if you want to have a build look really stuffed, where you actually don't need that much RAM. Anyway, there is a QDIM version with up to 8800 mega transfers and a UDIM version with up to 8000 mega transfers, but also supporting AMD Expo. Remember the MSI 320Hz monitor from last week? Well, there is now a slower one, but with QD-OLED. The new Mag 27 3QP QD-OLED X24, god, these monitor names, is also 27-inch big, but has a 240Hz refresh rate panel. Not to say this is slow, but it is slower. The resolution remains the same at 1440p, but the gray-to-gray time is significantly quicker at 0.03 instead of 0.5, which the alternative monitor could push. AOC also got a new monitor, the U27G4. This is a dual mode type of monitor, where it can display up to 4K at 160Hz or switch over to 1080p but at 320Hz. Nothing has been said or release dates or wherever this is going to launch, but not in Europe for now, so we have to wait for pricing. And as a last monitor, we got the... God, there are so many monitors. Like, the more of these Hardware Radar episodes I make, the more I realize that how many monitors are just thrown onto the market. Anyway, Samsung has a new Odyssey, the G8 or G81SF 240Hz OLED, and according to Samsung, they use something called pulsating heat pipe technology to somehow cool the whole thing down, where the OLED burn-in doesn't happen anymore. It's not a concern anymore, but we'll see about that. And in a twist that surprised the whole industry, yet nobody really cares, Apple released the new budget phone, the iPhone E instead of SE. You know, the latest iPhone at the greatest price. There isn't really that much to say about it. It's a boiled down version of the latest iPhone 16. The big differences are like single back camera, the island is gone, not just back. It's still 6.1 inches, almost identical specs to the 16, like a few pixels missing in both directions, slightly less bright, and they cut a core of the GPU. And other than that, I really love Apple's dedication to compare this new iPhone 16e with the previous iPhone 11. They do allow you to select up to an iPhone 12, but come on Apple, add an iPhone 16 in here. Come on, be bold. And this should be everything for this week's Hardware Radar. If I forgot anything or you want a company to be added to the radar, just comment down below. Oh, on a side note, we have a Discord server, so if you want to join, the link is down below. And we got channel membership, so if you are planning to sell your soul for an RG poop emoji, that's one way to go. But if not, I'm also releasing the content to all members 2 or 3 weeks in advance. Except for the NDA stuff, because, you know, I don't want to get sued. Additionally, you can rest assured that the income will not only keep the channel afloat, but will also serve to get Thermaltake a dictionary. There are more possibilities to name a product except for variations of the word big. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to continue, have a look at the Lian Li GA2 Lite review I just published. That thing was anything but light. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.